Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk Tickers.
Always good to be back.
Today we are going to be dissecting CS Disco's Q3 2024 earnings call.
That's right.
You've got the transcript in front of you, maybe some stock charts open, and you want the insights that actually matter for investors like you.
Exactly.
And that's where we come in. So for anyone who needs a quick refresher, CS Disco, ticker symbol LLW, is all about e-discovery. We're talking the tech that helps legal teams sift through mountains of digital data for those massive lawsuits. Not exactly, beach reading, but it's a huge and growing business.
Oh, yeah.
And this quarter, we saw some interesting developments that tell a bigger story about where CS Disco might be headed.
For sure.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Revenue growth. It came in at 4% year over year.
Right.
Not terrible, but not exactly setting the world on fire either. What's the deeper story here?
Well, I think it's all about looking beneath the surface when we see that 4%. While overall revenue grew modestly, their software revenue, which is the heart of their business, actually grew faster at 6%. So this suggests that their core product is still attracting customers.
That's a good sign for sure. But I noticed services revenue took a dip, down 7%. Should investors be concerned?
Though this is where things get a little bit interesting. This could be a strategic shift by the new CEO, Eric Friedrichson. This was his first full quarter at the helm. He's already met with over 40 customers, emphasizing a customer-centric approach, so that dip in services revenue might be tied to his focus on attracting higher-value clients, those spending over $100,000 per year, rather than chasing smaller, less profitable accounts.
So it's a quality over quantity play. Makes sense. Considering they also brought back a familiar face, Lauren Caruso, as their chief sales officer. She's got a track record of building high-performing sales teams.
Absolutely. And they added a new VP of operations, Joe Jacobson, with some impressive experience at Concur and Brex. So it seems like they're assembling a team to really execute this new go-to-market strategy.
And what exactly does that strategy look like? Is it just about going after bigger clients?
Well, it's more nuanced than that. They're moving away from that traditional land grab approach of signing up as many customers as possible, regardless of size. Now it's about building deeper relationships with those enterprise-level clients, understanding their specific needs, offering tailored solutions.
So less fishing with a net, more like spear fishing for those high-value targets. I like that analogy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To support this shift, they've restructured their sales team, letting go of 31 people, mostly in sales development and inside sales roles, those focused on volume.
Sounds like a tough decision.
Yeah.
But I guess necessary if you're making a big strategic shift like this.
Right. And they opened 22 new roles, specifically focused on enterprise sales. So it's a clear sign they're putting their money where their mouth is.
So we've got a new CEO with a clear vision, some strategic leadership changes, and a targeted go-to-market plan. But how does this translate into actual results for investors? What should we be watching closely?
Well, I think the big question is, can this shift to high-value clients lead to faster growth and better profitability in the long run? I mean, early signs are promising. They are reporting more big spenders, increased revenue from those clients, and better software retention rates. So all good news for investors.
Sounds like they're laying the groundwork for something potentially big, but it's still early days. What about their technology itself? Are they keeping up with the competition in the legal tech space?
Yeah, this is where things get really exciting. CS Disco has been making waves with their generative AI platform, Cecilia, and early feedback suggests it's more than just hype. Customers are saying that it's ahead of the curve in terms of its capabilities, even attracting attention from major law firms.
Wow, so those big-time lawyers who are used to the best of the best are impressed. That says something. But is Cecilia actually bringing in the big bucks yet?
Well, the revenue impact is still relatively small at this point. You know, it's like a promising young athlete with a lot of potential, but still needs to kind of prove themselves on the big stage.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
So we'll need to see if they can translate this early buzz into significant revenue growth.
So Cecilia is definitely one to watch, but let's not forget the bottom line. Are they profitable yet?
Yeah.
How healthy are their financials overall?
Well, not quite profitable yet. Their adjusted EBITDA, which is a measure of profitability that excludes certain costs, is still negative. However, it is improving year over year, suggesting they're moving in the right direction.
Okay, so some positive signs, but still work to be done. The key question for investors is whether that improvement is happening fast enough to justify the current stock price.
Yeah, their guidance suggests continued growth, but will it be enough to satisfy Wall Street's expectations? That remains to be seen.
All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about revenue trends, leadership changes, a big go-to-market shift,
Yeah.
and even touch upon the intriguing potential of their AI platform. Before we move on to some fun speculation, what are some of the key takeaways you think investors should really be focused on here?
I think it's really about the new CEO. He is clearly shaking things up with a very deliberate strategy. The early indicators are positive, but whether this translates into sustained profitable growth is the million-dollar question. I think the performance of their AI platform, Cecilia, will be a critical factor to watch in the coming quarters.
Great points.
Yeah.
Now let's have some fun. Get a little speculative. It is time for our, this is not financial advice segment.
Disclaimer. This is
Yeah.
purely for entertainment, not investment advice.
So based on what we've learned about CS Disco, what's a what, but not totally implausible trade idea you'd consider?
Okay, here's one. A long-short strategy. That capitalizes on CS Disco's strategic shift and the potential of Cecilia AI. On the long side, we buy LW, betting that their focus on high-value clients and operational improvements will lead to accelerated revenue growth and a higher stock price.
Makes sense so far. But to make it a long-short strategy, we need to short something. What's on the other side of that trade?
All right, now this is where it gets a little spicy. We short a basket of their legacy competitors, those established e-discovery players who haven't fully embraced the cloud or generative AI. Think of the ones who are stuck in their old ways.
So we're betting that CS Disco, with their agility
Yeah.
and focus on cutting-edge tech, will outmaneuver those industry giants who are slow to adapt.
Precisely. The legal tech space is ripe for disruption, and those slow to adapt could be left behind.
I see where you're going with this. It's a bold bite and potentially a huge payoff. If CS Disco can really execute on their vision.
Exactly. And here's a potential catalyst. What if Cecilia AI really takes off? If they land some major partnerships? Or show significant revenue growth from the platform, their stock could soar, leaving competitors scrambling to catch up.
Okay. I like where your head's at. It's a high-risk, high-reward play.
Absolutely. But remember, no investment is without risk. This is purely hypothetical, and for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research, understand the market, and consider your own investment goals and risk tolerance.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears and move on to some other interesting aspects of CS Disco's performance this quarter.
Sounds good.
One thing that stood out to me in the earnings call was that people also ask section. It's always interesting to see what questions everyday investors are Googling about a company.
Yeah, for sure. It gives you a pulse on the market sentiment.
So what were some of the common questions you saw? What were people asking?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
unsurprisingly, a lot of people want to know, is Law a good stock to buy? And of course, there's no easy answer there.
Right.
Analyst forecasts are kind of a mixed bag. Some are recommending a buy, others are suggesting a hold, and some even saying sell.
Yeah, that mixed reaction makes sense, given all the changes happening at CS Disco right now. It's definitely a company in transition, making big bets on the future.
It is, and that's what makes it so interesting. They're not just sitting back. This new leadership is making bold moves, but it does create uncertainty, which is reflected in those analyst opinions.
It's a high-risk, high-reward situation. For investors who are comfortable with that kind of volatility, CS Disco could be an intriguing opportunity.
Absolutely, and I think that's where, the importance of research comes in. Don't just follow the crowd or rely solely on those analyst ratings. Dive deeper into the company's financials, understand their strategy, and consider if it aligns with your own investment goals and risk tolerance.
Okay, let's zoom in on one of those key factors, CS Disco's AI platform, Cecilia. We touched upon it earlier, but it's worth digging a little deeper. From what we've gathered, it seems like they're positioning Cecilia as a game changer in the legal tech world.
They are, and I think they have reason to be confident. From what we're hearing from customers, Cecilia seems to be more than just a marketing gimmick. Users are praising its advanced capabilities, especially compared to the competition.
And it's not just talk. They're seeing real traction with major law firms, the kind of clients who demand the absolute best tools.
Exactly. That tells you something about the potential of this technology. These are firms that handle incredibly complex cases, deal with mountains of data, and they need cutting-edge solutions to stay competitive. So if Cecilia is winning them over, I think it's a very strong signal.
It does make you wonder if this could be a tipping point in the legal tech industry. If AI can truly streamline e-discovery and legal research, it could disrupt the entire field.
Imagine the possibilities: faster turnaround times, lower costs, increased accuracy. The potential benefits are huge.
But let's bring it back to reality for a second. As promising as Cecilia sounds, it's still early days in terms of revenue generation.
Right, we need to see those concrete results. Can they convert this early buzz into actual dollars? That's the key question for investors.
Almost like a venture capital bet at this point. High risk, but with the potential for an enormous payoff if they can scale Cecilia effectively.
And that's why it's so crucial to watch their execution closely. Are they attracting the right talent? Are they investing in R&D to stay ahead of the curve? Are they forging partnerships? That can accelerate adoption. These are the factors that will determine Cecilia's ultimate success.
So for investors, it's about balancing that long-term potential with the short-term uncertainties. There's a lot to be excited about with CS Disco, but it requires a certain level of risk tolerance and a belief in their ability to execute.
Absolutely. It's not a stock for the faint of heart. But for those who are willing to do their homework, understand the landscape, it could be a very interesting opportunity.
Now let's zoom out a bit and talk about the broader legal tech landscape. CS Disco isn't operating in a vacuum, so how does their performance and strategy compare to the rest of the industry?
Well, the legal tech space is incredibly dynamic right now. You have those established players trying to adapt to the cloud, incorporate AI into their offerings, while newer, more agile companies are emerging and challenging the status quo.
Sounds like a classic tale of disruption.
It is. And CS Disco, with their focus on the cloud and their aggressive push with Cecilia, seems to be positioning themselves on the right side of that disruption.
But they're not the only ones with AI ambitions. So how does Cecilia stack up against competing AI platforms?
That's a tough question to answer definitively, as each platform has its own strengths and weaknesses. But from what we're seeing, Cecilia is getting really high marks for its user-friendliness and its ability to handle the complexities of legal data.
So ease of use and power.
Yeah.
A winning combination, especially in a field that's often resistant to change. Lawyers are busy people. They need tools that make their lives easier, not more complicated.
Right. And that's where CS Disco seems to have an edge. They're not just building fancy tech. They're building tech that solves real problems for legal professionals.
It all comes back to that customer-centric approach we talked about earlier. It's clear that they're putting a lot of effort into understanding the needs of their target market and building solutions that address those needs.
And that's a smart move. In a competitive market like legal tech, the companies that truly understand their customers and deliver value will be the ones that succeed in the long run.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. Revenue trends, new leadership, the strategic shift towards high-value clients, the exciting potential of their AI platform, Cecilia, and even their position within the broader legal tech landscape. But there's one area we haven't touched on yet, the company culture.
Ah, yes, the human element, often overlooked in these financial deep dives, but absolutely crucial to a company's long-term success.
Exactly. From what we've gathered, it seems like CS Disco is going through a period of significant change, new leadership, new strategy, a renewed focus on technology. All of this can be very disruptive to a company's internal culture.
And to their credit, it seems like they're aware of this. In the earnings call, Eric Friedrichson, the new CEO, spoke about the importance of maintaining a strong company culture, even amidst these changes.
Yeah. He specifically acknowledged the difficulty of the recent layoffs, emphasizing the contributions of those who were let go. That's something you don't always hear from CEOs, especially in the context of an earnings call.
No, you don't. It does suggest a level of empathy and self-awareness. That's really encouraging.
Yeah. And it sounds like they're taking concrete steps to support their employees through this transition, investing in training and development programs to help their team adapt to the new strategic direction.
That's smart. Investing in your people is always a good idea, especially when you're going through a period of transformation like this. It shows that they're not just focused on the bottom line, but also on the well-being of their employees.
And in the long run, a positive company culture can be a powerful competitive advantage. It can attract and retain top talent, drive innovation, and create a sense of shared purpose.
It's often said that a company's culture is its operating system. And if that operating system is healthy, the company is much more likely to thrive.
So while we don't have all the details on CS Disco's internal culture, the signals we're getting are positive. They seem to be taking a thoughtful approach to managing this period of change, recognizing the importance of their people.
And I think that's something that investors should definitely factor in to their assessment of the company. A strong culture can be a sign of strong leadership and a sustainable business model.
Okay, I think we've covered just about everything in terms of CS Disco's Q3 2024 earnings.
I think so. We've explored their financials, their strategy, their technology, even touched upon their company culture.
We even threw in a fun speculative trade idea for those who like a little risk in their portfolio.
But as always, remember, this is not financial advice. Do your own research, consider your own risk tolerance, and invest responsibly.
And on that note, let's wrap up this episode of Talk Tickers. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into CS Disco.
It has been a fascinating discussion. CS Disco is certainly a company to watch, especially in this rapidly evolving legal tech landscape.
Absolutely. And for listeners who want to stay ahead of the curve, I think it's worth keeping an eye on those. People also ask questions we talked about earlier. They can be a good indicator of what the market is curious about, what concerns investors might have, and where the conversation is headed.
Yeah, it's like a real-time pulse check on investor sentiment. Sometimes those questions reveal insights you might not find in traditional financial reports.
Okay, before we wrap up, I have to ask, any other bold trade ideas brewing in that financial mind of yours? Don't hold back.
Well, since this is not financial advice segment, I do have something a little outside the box. Imagine this. We go long on CS Disco, betting on their growth and their innovative AI platform.
Okay, sticking with LLA. Bullish as ever, I like it. What's the counterpoint? What are we shorting?
Here's where it gets interesting. We short a basket of companies, heavily reliant on paper-based processes. Think old-school industries, like lumber, paper manufacturing, even snail mail delivery services.
Whoa, hold on. Are you suggesting that the rise of e-discovery will lead to the downfall of paper? That's a bold statement.
Not entirely, but think about it. As legal proceedings move further into the digital realm, the demand for paper documents will inevitably decline. E-discovery makes the process faster, cheaper, and more efficient.
Okay, I see the logic here. It's a bet on the future of legal tech and a decline in those paper-heavy industries. It's a long-term play, but the potential payoff could be huge if that shift really takes hold.
Exactly. And here's a possible catalyst. Imagine a major legal case where e-discovery evidence is crucial. That could send shockwaves through the legal world, further accelerating the adoption of digital solutions like CS Disco.
It's like a digital domino effect. With CS Disco setting off a chain reaction, that impacts multiple industries. I like it. It's bold, it's speculative, and it's definitely in the spirit of our "this is not financial advice" segment.
Precisely. It's purely hypothetical, meant to spark your imagination and get you thinking about the broader implications of these technological shifts.
But as always, a reminder to our listeners, this is purely for entertainment purposes. We are not financial advisors, and this should not be taken as investment advice. Do your own research and invest responsibly.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive into CS Disco's Q3 2024 earnings call. We covered a lot of ground today, from the nitty-gritty financials to those big picture trends shaping the legal tech industry.
We explored their new leadership, their strategic shift, the potential of their AI platform, and even their company culture. We threw in a wild trade idea just for kicks.
We hope this episode has given you valuable insights and a new perspective on CS Disco and the exciting world of legal tech. As always, thanks for listening to Talk Tickers.